Let's make an abstract painting. We're going to start out with a canvas. We're going to use palette knives, and I have some gesso here, white gesso, just to add a little bit of texture, and then I have a variety of just blue paints, and the gesso is going to add really beautiful texture, and this is such a fun and easy technique. Let's start out by putting our paints right on our palette. This does have a little bit of green on it that's not dry, so we might have a little bit of green, but we just want variations of different shades of blue. Okay, so just gonna squirt these out. And I'm just gonna fill this baby up with lots of color here. And it's so fun to make these kind of paintings. You can pick whatever color scheme you want, and they turn out pretty darn amazing, I think. Pretty amazing. And they turn out really amazing with just a little bit of technique. So this is turquoise. Alrighty, and then we're going to go ahead and grab our palette knife. Just make sure that it's nice and clean. I have a few different types of palette knives. Any one will do. And I'm actually going to just make sure that I have a lot of the green off. Because I dip it in my gesso container here, and I'm just going to scoop some out, and it's just going to add really beautiful texture. If you have kind of a heavy body paint, you can absolutely not add the gesso. You can even do this with modeling paste too, but it's fun. I think I just have a little bit of gesso left in this jar, so you see here that I'm running on the edge, but I want to be able to add some white onto it. So we're going to start at this corner here, and I'm just going to flick my wrist this way. We're going to do kind of a diagonal kind of sweep, and it's just going to get bigger as we go out. So let's start with this color. You can start with light or dark, whatever you want. I'm going to mix that together, and I have a lot of white because I'm going to be adding a lot of different colors. So I'm going to start here on the corner and just sweep the color back and forth. And I love palette knives. They just naturally add just beautiful texture. We can go in with this color too. This is a kind of a softer body or a fluid kind of paint. So that's what we're going to use. And I'm just flicking my hands, my wrist this way. Okay, so let's add some more here. And if you want more texture, then add in some of that gesso. You can even just go in with some white too. Sometimes I like to just introduce that. And then you can just scrape it right against that beautiful palette. I'm even going to kind of get some off here. And you're just going to keep going up the canvas. And again, I'm just going to get a little bit bigger with the motions of my hands. And I'm not really worried about this, but it'd be really great if you created kind of a gradient. I think that would be a really cool technique for this too. So maybe start dark down here and go lighter, or darker here and go, or lighter down here and then darker up there. So it's up to you, whatever you want to do. But as you can see, it comes together pretty quick here. And I like just having a variety of really pretty colors, very vibrant. And you can add more. And I like to work on white paper here, because then you get some pretty collage. Some pretty paper that you can use for collage. Okay, and we'll go down here and let's mix this together just like that. And I love a palette knife because the colors don't quite mix. You can kind of see everything, which is really nice. So it's just really pretty. The colors kind of sit on each other and they drag. And you just get this really beautiful kind of finish. You see here that there's a little dot, but I absolutely love that. Maybe let's introduce some of this down here. So I'm just going to kind of look at the canvas and see if I have some empty spots. But again, I'm kind of following the same thing. I'm just dragging that color. Oops. As you can see, this can be a messy process, at least for me. Okay. Alrighty, let's get some of this, and I'm going to start down here and just scoop that color just like that. And this is just a really fun way and very easy way to make an abstract. I just love celebrating texture, especially with a palette knife. It just makes it so easy. And I think you just kind of know, like, do I want more kind of blending or less blendy? Do I need to add more color? So just kind of play with it until you get something that you like. I'm going to try to just use all the paint that I have on my palette here. But you can do a ton of these, and I'm going to make a green one too so you can see, but just make sure that you're dragging your hand this way or flicking your wrist. Oh, that looks so great. And then I kind of like that it's very busy down here. You get a lot of kind of blending and different streaks of color, and then there's like a little bit of a space that's kind of a pause, and then we have the edge up here. So that's a little bit more mixy. So we're gonna do that. Oh, that looks great. And I'm just getting off whatever's on my palette, making sure that I don't see any white or any canvas showing. So I see a little bit here. I'm going to add that. And if you wanted to, you could even take the edge of your palette knife, the tip of it, and you could add in some lines too, just to make that a little bit more prevalent that it has texture. I'm not going to do that though, because I love the texture from the gesso and the palette knife. So, but you could do that if you want. I think that would be really cool. So just make it your own. So great. Okay, so whatever's left on the side, whatever's left on my palette, I can just brush on the side. So I'm going to grab a brush here, and this is still really wet. So I'm going to be kind of careful, but I just want to show you. So you can just paint the edges too. If you're very careful, I would recommend that you let it dry, but I just want to show you here. I'm just going to go and paint the edges. And I always paint the edges. That will just give it a finish, a really beautiful finish to your piece. And you see here that I kind of messed up my blending, so I can just take my palette knife and just do that kind of sweeping motion. But that looks so cool. So we're going to let that dry. You can cover your palette with plastic too, and then you can come back in and paint the edges after it dries. But if you wanted to add more color, like maybe you don't have enough darks, then you can use that, or you want some more light, then you can do that. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I love how this looks. I think it's really, really cool. And if you wanted to, you could, I'm kind of using the whole body of the palette knife, but if you wanted to, you could use the tip and really get really pretty kind of half circles or flicks of your wrist that are a little bit more tight. So that's how that looks. We're going to let this dry completely, and I'll do the green one, and you'll see that one I'm going to fast forward through, and we'll paint the edges. And these are all ready to go. You can just varnish them, which I'll have a video on how to do that. So you can check that out too if you're interested in varnishing. Okay, and I'm just going to wipe that off, and I'll use this for another project since it has all of this beautiful paint on it. Okay, so now let's varnish our paintings. I'm going to use this one, the Deco Arts Americana. It's really, and it's a satin varnish, so it's kind of in the middle of being matte and glossy. And it's just going to make everything pop. You don't need that much. I've already done a coating, so I'm going to do very light. And this is at the very end. Do this one over here, but varnishing is important because it brings out the color and it creates a protective coating on your paintings. So make sure you varnish. You can use a spray varnish or this brush on kind of varnish, and I like to go in one direction and just pull it down all over your paintings. And like I said, it doesn't take very much to get it to work. But that's it. It's so pretty. You really get to see those colors pop now. Just going to go on this side. If you have a little bit left over, you can grab another piece and brush that on too. So you can go on here and give it a brush too. This is another piece that I'm working on. So yeah, really fun. So I hope that you enjoyed these abstracts. It's really fun and a really easy technique. Just practice just making the kind of rounded motion with your wrist with your paintbrush, and you'll be set to go. And you can do more than one color or more than one color family. I just wanted to experiment with one color family, but I can't wait to see what you come up with. Please tag me if you do it so I can share your work, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.